Yo, goons, what's good? Today, I'm gonna make this really short and sweet, I promise. We're gonna be going over some Goldlewis tech. So this has been around for a while. In fact, it was in my mix-up guide, but I didn't touch on it too much. And today I thought I'd dedicate a short little video to it, and what I'm talking about is the Backturn BTs. So before I actually get into how to do this, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So 862 is this BT, right? It's an overhead, and 842 is this BT. It's a low. Now pay very close attention to these animations because what you're going to see with this tech is going to look a little bit confusing at first. But what you want to keep in mind is this overhead arc that starts in front of him, up to down, that is an overhead, unsurprisingly, and the one that starts up to down behind him, that's a low. 842 is a low, 862 is an overhead. We all know this, right? Now watch this. Why was that an overhead? It looked like 842. And 862 just hit this Kai low. So what's going on here? What's exactly happening? And moreover, how is this useful? So basically, these moves, 862 and 842, as I said in my mix-up guide, they are like perfectly inverted animations of one another. And that means that if you manage to do these basically while the game thinks you're crossing up the opponent, you get the version of the move that you used from the opposite side on the side that you're now on. Does that make sense? So I can get an 862 that looks like an 842 on this side, and it's really an overhead, even though it looks like a low. It's dirty. And you can even add a little bit of delay, or if you mess up doing this, and you get the correct version on that side. So for example, there's the overhead 862 on the right side, even though before I did it and it looked like a low. So this is a true 50-50 if you could put the opponent in the spot where this happens. Now what's the reason why this is actually good, why it's worth doing? Well, let me show you. First off, I wanted to say if you set your training dummies defensive options to what you see here, you can test if you can do fuzzy overheads. So that's going to be relevant here in a second. But for example, he's set to crouch after every hit, but he has to block the JD standing there off of the 862 fuzzy. We all know about that, right? Well, watch this. So what happened there? I did a high that looks like a low on the opposite side. And basically what this corresponds to is hitting 862 on the same side at like the last possible frame that it can hit. And as we went over in, again, another video that you can see on my channel, that actually allows you to go from meterless fuzzy. However, if you want to do that same side, you have to manually time it. If you want to do it on cross-up, you can do it this way, and it's much more consistent. Doing it the manually timed way is really, really difficult, but I still think that's like the future of Goldlewis as we go on and on. But nonetheless, this is a better way to do it. Now note that even if you mess this up and you get 842 on this side, you're plus 16. So you're still in an amazing spot here. Now, since you get a meterless fuzzy off of this version, if they block, why would you ever want to use the other version, right? Why would you ever want to use the low that looks like a high? Well, put simply, it's because the launch is disgusting from that one. Yeah, so you can see the reward is much, much higher for the low that looks like a high if they hit. And again, this is a true 50-50, right? If you're executing this properly, you can choose between if you want to do the crossed up version or the normal version on the other side, right? So it's just amazing. It's super, super rewarding. So the way you do this is you actually need to do your BT just before you land, like your entire BT just before you land. And you can't really buffer that much of it. What I like to do is hold up forward when I'm crossing up the opponent, and then just get ready to do my quarter circle forward or back and down just as I'm landing. It's really something you're going to have to practice with muscle memory. But bear in mind, if you could even get 50% consistent on this, you have a true mix-up. Like even if you mess yourself up. See? That's what it looks like when done successfully. One way you'll know you're doing this successfully is if you get vacuumed in when the opponent has to block. It's a kind of a weird interaction. But you can see there I don't get sucked in. Right? That's normal 8-4-2. But when I get the high version, I do get sucked in. It's another way you can tell you're doing it right, and another reason it's strong. It leaves you closer. So how do you set this up? Well, generally, you're going to need a lot of time to set up Oki, and you're going to need level 3 drone to go for this safely. So it might be something like this, where normally you could get a lot more off a close slash. You end at 4-8-6. And then you go for the mix-up. So for example, you could get a lot more off of this combo, right? If you wanted to. But instead you set up the drone and you go for your mix-up, right? And the trick is to do it on the 4-8-6 early on in your combo, is when you want to end your combo. Just note though, with the / confirm, if you try to do it off PRC, it can be a little wonky sometimes, just because if you're too fast, the 4-8-6 will just hit them away from you, like that. So bear in mind that you want to make sure you're timing things properly in order to set this up. So this mix-up is really rewarding. Even if you don't really think to go for the fuzzy in time, you're super plus on both options if the opponent somehow blocks them. And of course, if you have meter, that's where this can generally be a better option than going for some other thing. So like, if you don't have quite enough meter to extend a combo to kill the opponent, I think that setting up this mix-up and getting the reset and then using your meter to kill with the less prorated combo, that's going to be more consistent than ending your combo and trying to open up and mix up the opponent, especially at a higher level. Yeah, this I only really recommend for like far into your Goldlewis development. I would say that this is something you only want to be looking to do at like the highest level of play, because generally it's just not necessary to open up opponents, and I think in general it's not really necessary. It's just a really good option. But the fact that you can do a meterless fuzzy consistently this way, that is really, really, really strong. And sometimes you might be able to get opponents to respect drone when they don't really need to. Like if I just /684, I absolutely cannot do this. Like that is not real. He definitely could have jumped out or thrown or done a lot of different things to get out of that situation. But because Goldlewis is so scary, you can add this to the mental stack. And if you can just squeeze this in somewhere once where it's fake, it's like a guaranteed way to open up the opponent. So like having a guaranteed way to open up the opponent more or less is disgusting. Because I mean, I promise you, if you get the high that looks like a low, somehow if they block that, they're godlike, you still get a meterless fuzzy overhead, and nobody's blocking that. So yeah, that's super, super good. And in those clutch scenarios where you need to win the game, it's just something to add to your arsenal, goons. So that's all I had planned for this video. More coming up in the future. If you liked it, check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/me_Lolo. I would appreciate it. I stream pretty consistently over there. See you later, goons.